Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. William Chen, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most underestimated foods in the modern diet. It's not exotic, it's not expensive, it's not locked behind some premium supplement company, and yet this one food has the potential to help your body defend its DNA, calm hidden inflammation, strengthen your cellular protection systems, and support the internal repair work your body is trying to do every single day. Now let me tell me something important right at the start. Most people wait until they feel sick before they start paying attention to what their body has been whispering for years. But the body rarely begins with a scream. It begins with signals, quiet ones, subtle ones, the kind most people ignore. Waking up tired even after sleeping, brain fog that comes out of nowhere, joint stiffness that feels older than your age, skin acting up, a gut that never feels fully settled, energy crashes, mood swings, cravings, a body that feels inflamed, puffy, heavy, or just not quite right. And the dangerous part is this: many people treat these signs as normal. They say, "I'm just stressed. I'm just getting older. That's just life." But in many cases, what's really happening beneath the surface is a low-grade inflammatory fire, not the kind you notice after an injury. I'm talking about hidden inflammation, the kind that slowly disrupts your metabolism, burdens your immune system, accelerates wear and tear, and increases oxidative stress that can damage the very code your body depends on, your DNA. That's what makes this topic so important. Every single day, your DNA is under attack. Pollution, poor sleep, processed food, blood sugar spikes, chronic stress, toxins, tuxedo, alcohol excess, sedentary living, even normal metabolism creates byproducts that can stress your cells. Your body is constantly trying to protect and repair this damage. That's one of the miracles of human biology. You are not fragile by design. You are equipped with built-in defense systems. But those systems can get overwhelmed, especially when your diet works against you instead of for you. So the real question becomes, what can you eat that actually helps your body do what it was designed to do? What food doesn't just feed you, but activates protection? What can help cool hidden inflammation instead of fueling it? What supports resilience at the cellular level instead of creating more chaos? The answer may surprise you. It's broccoli sprouts, not a fancy powder, not a trendy miracle berry from the other side of the world. Broccoli sprouts, the tiny, young, tender version of broccoli that most people walk right past without giving a second thought. And here is why they matter so much. Broccoli sprouts are one of the richest known food sources of a natural plant compound called sulforaphane. That name may sound technical, but what it does is what makes it extraordinary. Sulforaphane is not a stimulant. It doesn't artificially boost your body in a reckless way. Instead, it activates protective pathways inside your cells, especially one of the most important cellular defense systems we know about, often referred to as the NRF2 pathway. When this pathway is activated, your body can increase the production of antioxidant and detoxification enzymes that help neutralize harmful compounds, reduce oxidative stress, and support the systems involved in DNA protection and cellular repair. Think about that for a second. Most people are looking for energy from caffeine, comfort from sugar, and relief from pills. But real biological resilience often starts much deeper. It starts at the cellular level. It starts with the environment you create inside the body. And broccoli sprouts help create an internal environment that is less inflamed, less oxidatively stressed, and more prepared to defend itself. Now I know what some people are already thinking. Are you really telling me that something as simple as broccoli sprouts can do all of that? And the answer is, not in a magical, overnight fantasy way. This is not about miracles. This is about mechanisms. It's about giving the body compounds that activate its own natural intelligence. That is a much more powerful and sustainable message than chasing hype. You see, inflammation itself is not the enemy. We need inflammation in the right dose, at the right time. If you cut your finger, inflammation helps you heal. If you get an infection, inflammation helps you fight. The problem begins when inflammation no longer turns off, when it becomes chronic, when it stays humming in the background day after day, month after month, year after year. That's when it starts damaging tissues instead of protecting them. That's when it contributes to metabolic problems, vascular dysfunction, immune imbalance, accelerated aging, and the kind of oxidative wear that can increase DNA damage over time. This is where broccoli sprouts become so powerful. Sulforaphane has been studied for its ability to influence inflammatory pathways in a smarter way than most people realize. It doesn't just fight inflammation in a vague wellness marketing sense. Research suggests it can help regulate important signaling pathways connected to inflammatory activity, oxidative stress, and cellular defense. In other words, it helps the body regain balance. And that's exactly what a body burdened by hidden inflammation desperately needs. Now let's talk about why this matters for DNA. Your DNA is not a static, untouchable object. It is living information. It is constantly being copied, read, protected, and repaired. When oxidative stress rises, DNA can become more vulnerable to damage. The body has repair systems, but those systems need support. A diet full of ultra-processed foods, chronic sugar overload, poor sleep, stress, and toxin exposure makes the job difficult. Foods rich in protective bioactive compounds make the job easier. Sulforaphane has been studied in relation to antioxidant defenses and markers linked to oxidative damage, which is why it keeps showing up in serious conversations about healthy aging, inflammation control, and cellular resilience. So no, I'm not here to tell you that broccoli sprouts are a magical cure for every disease. That would be irresponsible. I'm telling you something more useful. Broccoli sprouts appear to support the internal systems that help defend your cells from damage, reduce the biological pressure created by chronic inflammation, and create better conditions for the body's own repair processes to work. That distinction matters. Because when people hear a phrase like, repairs your DNA, they imagine some dramatic reversal overnight. That's not how physiology works. Real health is not a movie scene. It is repetition. It is signaling. It is environment. It is the daily conversation between what you eat and what your cells hear. And broccoli sprouts send a message of protection. Now let's go deeper, because the details are where this gets even more interesting. Broccoli sprouts are not the same as mature broccoli. Both can be beneficial, but the sprouted form is especially prized because of its concentrated potential for sulforaphane production. That's why researchers, clinicians, and nutrition experts keep returning to them. When you eat them, you are not just eating a vegetable, you are eating a biochemical signal, a small food with a disproportionately powerful message. And the beauty of that is this: you don't need a massive amount. You do not need to build your entire life around them. This is not about becoming obsessive. It is about becoming strategic. One of the biggest mistakes people make in health is believing that only extreme changes create meaningful results. That's not true. Biology is often shaped by what you do consistently, not dramatically. A cigarette doesn't destroy health in one puff. A healing pattern doesn't restore health in one salad. What matters is the trend, the direction, the repeated vote you cast every day through what you put into your body. So if hidden inflammation is quietly pushing your body in the wrong direction, broccoli sprouts can become one of those repeated votes in the other direction. And let's talk about hidden inflammation in a way that actually connects with everyday life. Hidden inflammation doesn't always show up as obvious disease first. Sometimes it shows up like a life that feels harder than it should. Harder to focus, harder to recover, harder to lose weight, harder to sleep deeply, harder to feel mentally clear, harder to maintain stable energy, harder to keep cravings under control, harder to bounce back after a bad meal, a stressful week, or a poor night of sleep. That is why people miss it, because it often feels ordinary, but ordinary does not mean optimal. When inflammation stays elevated, your body spends more time in defense mode and less time in renewal mode. And when renewal weakens, everything can feel slightly off, not broken enough to scare you, just diminished enough to become your new normal. That's the trap. You adapt to dysfunction. But what if your body is not asking for complicated something? What if it is asking for signals of safety, support, and recovery? What if part of the answer is feeding your internal defense network with compounds it recognizes and can actually use? That brings us back to broccoli sprouts. Sulforaphane has drawn so much attention because it appears to influence multiple systems at once. It's associated with antioxidant defense, detoxification enzymes, inflammatory regulation, and protection against oxidative stress. That kind of overlap is exactly what makes a food truly valuable. Because the body is not a collection of isolated parts. Your gut affects your immune system. Your immune system affects inflammation. Inflammation affects vascular health. Vascular health affects oxygen delivery. Oxidative stress affects DNA. Hormones, metabolism, and the brain are all part of this same conversation. That is why a single smart food choice can echo much further than people think. Now, I also want to address something practical. A lot of people hear about a healthy food, get excited for 3 days, buy it once, forget about it, and then move on. That's not transformation. That's entertainment. If you want results, you need integration. You need simplicity. So here is how I want you to think about broccoli sprouts. Do not treat them like a side project. Treat them like a tool. A small, repeatable, low-drama tool. You can add them to eggs. Add them to a sandwich. Add them to a wrap. Add them to a grain bowl. Add them to avocado toast. Add them to a salad. Layer them into a simple lunch. Put them into a savory yogurt bowl. If you're careful with heat, use them as a finishing ingredient rather than cooking them aggressively. The goal is not perfection. The goal is regular contact. And that regular contact matters because the body is always listening. Every day you either feed the fire or cool it. Every day you either increase the burden or improve the environment. Every day you either work with your biology or against it. And here is another reason this food deserves attention. It shifts the health conversation away from deprivation and toward activation. Most nutrition advice fails because it begins with punishment. Stop this. Eliminate that. Never eat this again. Fear this ingredient. Shame this habit. But human beings do not thrive under constant dietary guilt. We need a better framework. Instead of asking only, "What should I remove?" ask, "What can I add that helps my body defend itself better?" That is a more empowering question. Broccoli sprouts are one of the strongest answers to that question because they represent an upgrade, not just a restriction. They are not merely the absence of junk. They are the presence of protection. And when people start eating this way, something changes psychologically too. They stop feeling like victims of bad habits and start feeling like participants in their own repair. That mindset shift is huge. Because once someone makes food can send protective signals, they no longer look at meals the same way. They begin to see breakfast, lunch, and dinner as opportunities. Not just calories, not just comfort, not just routine, but influence. Now let me make this even more real. Imagine 2 people. Both are busy. Both are stressed. Both are sleeping less than ideal. Both are exposed to pollution, digital overload, and modern food environments. One person responds by living entirely on convenience, ultra-processed snacks, sugar spikes, and inflammatory patterns. The other person may still live a busy life, but intentionally adds protective foods, fiber, polyphenols, cruciferous vegetables, and broccoli sprouts. Are their lives identical? No. But are their cells hearing different messages every day? Absolutely. Over time, those messages matter. And if you are someone who feels like your body is aging faster than it should, if you feel inflamed, slower, foggier, more reactive, more depleted, then this is exactly the kind of food that deserves a place in your weekly rhythm. Not because it's trendy, because it's strategic. Another important point. When you eat broccoli sprouts, you are not just targeting one symptom. You are supporting terrain. And health is often about terrain more than isolated events. A healthier terrain means less opportunity for chronic inflammation to dominate. It means better support for detoxification pathways. It means a stronger antioxidant response. It means a cellular environment that is less vulnerable to daily damage. This is also why people who chase only symptom relief often get stuck. They want a pill for energy, a pill for digestion, a pill for sleep, a pill for mood, a pill for pain. But they never ask the deeper question, what is the environment inside my body that keeps creating these struggles? Broccoli sprouts are not the whole answer, but they are one of the clearest examples of how changing the environment can change the outcome. Now I want to be honest with you about one more thing. Some people will hear all this and say, "Fine, but if this food is so great, why isn't everyone talking about it?" The answer is simple, because simple things are often hard to market. A tiny sprout does not create the same excitement as a miracle supplement with shiny branding. There is no drama in saying, "Eat more protective plants consistently." But drama is not the same as truth. Health is often built by the unglamorous things done well and done often. And that should encourage you, because it means you do not need to wait for a breakthrough product. You do not need to spend a fortune. You do not need to turn your life upside down. Sometimes real power enters your life quietly, in a small container, in the produce section, in a habit that takes 10 seconds to practice. That is how biology works. Quietly, repeatedly, powerfully. Let's also talk about why this food feels especially relevant right now. We are living in a time when chronic inflammation is being normalized by lifestyle at every level. People are under-recovered, overfed and undernourished, overstimulated, underslept, and exposed to constant stress. In that environment, the body is not asking for more punishment. It is asking for more support. Broccoli sprouts are support. They support the body's built-in defense chemistry. They support resilience against oxidative load. They support a better inflammatory balance. They support the conditions in which healthy cellular function can happen. And once you understand that, you stop asking, "Does this food taste exciting enough?" and start asking, "What is this food training my body to become?" That is a much more powerful question, because every food teaches the body something. Highly processed, sugary, inflammatory foods teach instability. They teach spikes. They teach overreaction. They teach storage, stress, and dysfunction. Protective foods teach stability. They teach defense. They teach regulation. They teach resilience. Broccoli sprouts teach resilience. Now, if you want to get the most out of this idea, don't isolate it from the rest of your life. Pair it with better sleep. Pair it with walking after meals. Pair it with strength training. Pair it with fiber. Pair it with hydration. Pair it with stress regulation. Pair it with reducing the foods that inflame you most. When you do that, the effects compound. The body responds beautifully to consistency when signals line up in the same direction. That's how you get meaningful change. Not by searching for one savior, but by choosing one powerful anchor and building around it. And broccoli sprouts can be that anchor. If you've never had them before, start small. You do not need to force giant amounts. Just begin. Let your palate adapt. Let your routine adapt. Make it normal. Because once something becomes normal, it becomes sustainable. And sustainable habits are the ones that change biology. If you already eat broccoli but not the sprouts, this is your sign to upgrade. If you already eat well but still feel inflamed, this is your sign to get more strategic. If you feel overwhelmed by health advice, this is your sign to simplify. One food, one room, one repeated signal in the right direction. That is how momentum begins. And I want to say something directly to the person listening who feels discouraged. Maybe you've tried diets, maybe you've bought supplements, maybe you've done the cleanse, the reset, the elimination plan, the expensive protocol. Maybe you keep waiting to feel dramatically better, but your body still feels burdened. Please remember this. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it begins when the body experiences less friction, less inflammatory pressure, less oxidative burden, less internal chaos, and more support. That is what this food represents. No hype. Support, not fantasy. Signaling, not a cure-all. A powerful tool. And tools matter when used consistently. So if I were to give you one practical challenge from today's message, it would be this. For the next 2 weeks, make broccoli sprouts part of your daily routine in a simple, repeatable way. Don't overcomplicate it. Add them to one meal a day. Observe your body. Observe your energy. Observe your digestion. Watch your recovery. Observe your cravings. Observe your mental clarity. Not because this is magic, but because awareness changes behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. When you start paying attention, you realize the body is communicating all the time. You begin to notice which foods leave you inflamed, sluggish, and foggy, and you begin to notice which foods leave you lighter, clearer, calmer, and more stable. That awareness is priceless. And once you have it, No one can sell you nonsense as easily anymore. Because you stop being led only by marketing and start being guided by mechanism, observation, and biological truth. That is what I want for this channel. I don't want to just give you motivation. I want to give you understanding. I want you to know why a food matters, not just that it is good for you. Because when you understand the why, habits become easier, discipline becomes lighter, consistency becomes more natural. So let's brinstith. And in a world fooing when you nettled in you of because they use them wisely. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Dr. William Chen, and I'm truly glad you spent this time with me today.